Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to a new episode of Unity 2D Tutorials. In this episode, we're going to talk about the examine system. Let's go! Alright, so far we've built our own interaction system, the base of it, and also we've built the item object. We've got ourselves two objects in here. As previously done, we have this one as a pickup and this one also as a pickup. So let's convert this to examine so we can have two separate ways. So what we're going to do this episode is talk about how do we examine objects. So far we've set up the types of the interactions, right? We've got the pickup and the examine. Of course, the none is nothing. And for the pickup, we've already implemented storing the whole object in a list and then hiding it. And the examine, we're going to do the following. We're going to display an examine window, show the items image in the middle, display, and also write description text underneath the image. That's everything we do here. So to achieve all these three steps, we're going to have to create ourselves a UI interface. So we can simply create a UI interface by creating a canvas and let it load. Okay, we're good. So we go create UI canvas, and then it's better to have the scale as the screen size, and then you can put the same aspect ratio as your screen. I'm going to keep it 800 by I think 450 if I'm not mistaken, because 16 by 9 is 1.777 and 800 divided by 450 is 1.77 exactly. I just like it to keep it even, that's all. If you have more questions, you can check the where is it? Where's the help? Oh, hey, this button. This one gives you all the details about what's happening here. So we got ourselves the canvas. Let's call it UI. This one here, the match, it's useful to however you want to build your game. And what it means is when you scale objects, when you change the size of your screen, you want the width to remain static, or you want the height to remain static. You know what I mean? Like if I put something on the left side and I increase the size of this, it remains in the same place. And the same goes to the height. So if I put it in the middle, it actually takes like both in some way. So away from that, we create the UI, and inside of it we're going to create something called examine window. And this examine window, of course, let's go up here, we're going to have to make it fill. So if you keep clicking Alt, you can choose the thing that you need and it will assign to that pattern right away. So I'm going to fill it up, all of it. And let's design our UI for the examine. First of all, I'm going to make a dim background. It's going to be black with 0.8. Yeah, let's go with 0.8. Might save it, might increase it, but it's fine. Dim. Oh, that's it. We got the dim, and the next thing is we need the picture. We're going to take item image, and it's by default empty because we have nothing in it. And let's keep it as it is. Let's keep it. Let's do this thing. We want to make it. I want to keep this preserved. What I mean, aspect ratio should not change. So we assign this dull item, any item. Let's have this one. It's empty, and let's make it 200 by 200. Oh, not 2000. 200 by 200. You can play with the anchoring in here. Like if I click it Alt, I'm just gonna keep it in the middle. It's not a big deal for me because we don't have a lot of space. It's fine. So we go here. We add a text. We need the text to be aligned to the lower part, right? One of the stuff that you need to also pay attention is play with the pivot. So since it's anchored to the bottom, it's better to have the Y as 0, which means if you zero out this thing, it actually clamps along to this bottom side of the screen. But if you bring it downwards, it becomes -0. Where if you keep it as it is, it takes half of the height. So it means like the half of this text is on the line itself. Like if you click this. But we don't need this. We need the bottom of the line to be at the bottom of the screen. So we make the pivot 0, and this will make it 0. Let's make the height of it. No. Let's enable the wireframe. Make text in here, so you can see that it's actually going up. Let's make it 75. Yeah, 75 is enough. And for the testing part, let's have the text be white. And I don't know if I have a specific font now. I'm gonna use the actual font itself. I want to write 2 lines to see if it, yeah, so if I have 2 lines, it fits enough. Description text. So this is just the what's it called, the placeholder. So description, let's name it text. Usually what I like to do is I like to make text and then here put image item. Okay, so right now we have ourselves a window, a pop-up window. What we need to do is we need to reference that window from the interaction system itself. Because as we see from here, first we have to open that window, which is going to be in the interaction system. Then show the image, like set the image and the text. And of course, we're going to have to deal also with, also with the exiting that window. That should be easy enough. So let's make something here, call it header examination. Examine parameters. You know, let's call it fields. I like the word fields more than parameters. So we need to actually we need to get the examine window object. Public game object examine window. So we got this first, right? We're good here. We have to also reference 2 things. We have to reference the image and the text component, because we need to set whatever is inside the item on that thing. So we're gonna go with public image, and you see we don't have this thing in here. So all we have to do is, you can get the results from here. We have to import the UI. So here we go, using Unity engine.ui. That's it. Let's call it examine image and public text examine text. That should be everything in terms of fields. So if we go down here, we make public void examine item. What we need to do here is we need to actually pass the information. So you can pass them one by one, or you can pass them separately. It's all up to you. But since we have everything will be in here, we're gonna pass item. Okay, let me explain what's going on. So we have ourselves the item script, and if we go back to the scene, it's the script that's linked to the game object, and we only have one field in here, which is the type of the interaction. We're gonna add more stuff in here. So let's have this thing called header examine. So we can we make 2 things in here. We're gonna make both fields that we're gonna input in the examine window, which are the image and the text. Since the image is gonna be part of the picture, we don't have to actually pass it. I'm gonna explain right now what's gonna happen. So let's start doing this. Public string description text. Okay, and for the sake of it, we can go and make public sprite image. You know what, I can just call it image. That's enough. I'd rather making this public, we assign it manually, but you can have it become automatic. What I mean by this is, let's right here. So this is the bush. Okay. I'm just gonna write something dumb. It has green leaves, you know. That's fine. And then we have to assign a sprite in here. As I said, there's two ways of doing this. There's a lot of ways of doing this, but I suggest one of these. Either have this public, and what you do is you have to go here and drag and drop the bush thing in here. But I'd rather use the embedded way of doing this. And what I mean is, instead of drag and dropping the whole image from here, all I do is I just access this sprite renderer and get the sprite from in here, which is much simpler. So what we can do here is, we're not going to do all this stuff in here. We're going to take this out and call the examine item in the interaction system. Yep. So we call the same thing as we did do in here. Find object of type interaction system, and we've already made it. It's called examine item. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to pass. We have set up the item thing. An item is basically the script. This script. I'm passing this script because we need stuff inside the script, which is this one. I can pass the game object and I can access the script as I did there, but I don't have to go one level up for this stuff. It's up to you. So what I can do here is just write this. This means this script. And that should do everything. That should be everything from this side. So we have to go now to the side of the scripts in the interaction manager. From here, we've already referenced the examine window. So what we're going to do is we go examine window. No. Examine window that's set active true. I want to give another hint. When we want to assign stuff inside a UI element that's hidden, it's better to assign these things first and then showing the window. It's just better practice. Like if you're playing a really slow PC, you're going to see the window and then stuff will happen. So you have this small flicker of milliseconds. So let's avoid this. Let's do this thing. So right now inside this method, we have an import which is called item. And what we need to do is we need to assign the image. And we already have the examine image that sprite equals. What we're going to do is we're going to go item.get component sprite renderer dot sprite. No, sprite. What this does is it goes one level up from it goes from here, goes one level up like outside the script and gets inside this sprite renderer and takes the bush sprite. That's cool. Next thing is we need to write the description text, and we have it called description, right? Or like examine text. Yeah, examine text dot text, because the text component you have to access the dot text thing to input the string, and this one takes string as you see, and the string is we have it inside the item dot description text. That should be everything. And so far we handled opening the window and setting up the elements, but we haven't handled the closing. So let's do step by step. So if we go here, oh, I forgot one thing. I forgot to reference this stuff. So what we need is we need the object itself. Where's the thing? Here. Examine window, examine image, and examine text. So let's save it, play. First of all, let's test this left one because we implemented all the stuff. So that's it. We've got ourselves an examine window with an image that actually we examined and the text that we wrote in the item object itself. You can see we can actually still move in here. We can actually close it because we only did the opening. So let's deal with restricting the movement and closing the image itself. For us to be able to close the, to restrict the movement, we need to have a boolean that gets triggered every time we have an examine window open, right? And the simplest way is to detect whether the exam window is open or not. Okay? So what I'm going to do in here is, since the movement is getting altered in the Fox script and the examine is in here, we're going to have to make a way of detecting that can we move right now or no. So we're going to make a script here called public bool can't move. Probably there's other ways of implementing this. The more the complex that we become, the more other ways we can handle this stuff. So what's going to happen here is, if we go here, you see in the update, we're handling everything in here. All the stuff. So we're handling the movement, jump, and the crouch, and the animation. So one of the ways to do this is we have to restrict the movement of the player while in the exam window. Or there's another way of doing this is we can actually move, but as soon as we exit that, as soon as we, we're working here, as soon as we exit that thing, we turn it off. But I like this second option because what if I just want to read and exit, and I just want to read and get out without moving? So one way of doing this is we have to actually eliminate, stop all of this stuff, everything. And by this, what we can do, we have to make something here called, it basically it's a return. Return, when you write return, it nulls everything down. Everything here is inaccessible. So we have to call this a method in here that tells us, okay, we can run right now, we can work right now. I want to make it more elaborate, so I'm going to make it now can move. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. The naming doesn't have to be the same, but just I want to be consistent. So in here, we're going to call it if can move return. So basically what this means that if the result of this output is false, do this. Otherwise, do everything. So we can do it like this, or make it like this. Equals true or equals false by deleting this. Whatever you can do. Oh, what did I do? But I like using this one here because it's simpler. So what this does, we're going to have to make a method that determines if we can move or not. So if this is true, do anything. If this is false, if this happens, means we cannot move, don't do any of those stuff. So we're good. So we're going to have to determine what will happen from here. Because so far we have only one condition that this allows us from moving, we're going to have to implement here. And along the way, if we add more stuff like inventory, like storyline happening, or examination, or whatever else, we can embed it in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to make something called can equals true. So it's by default true. We make a boolean that's always true. And then we have to check. This is one of the stuff that I do. If I have 5 ways of checking in here, let me have this explained in the paint, easier. Let's say we have, see, this is our method. We start from here, we end here. So we create a boolean here. Let's call it can, right? And it's true. By default, it's true. And then we have 4 checks. And then we have to, after doing all these checks, we return the can. So it returns to the whatever we're asking. So we keep this true. And what that means, by default, we can walk or run or move. And the first condition, let's go hypothetical. The first one, let's say, is examine window. So the examine window, if it's open, we false the can. Can becomes X. And the second example, for example, let's say we are in a dialogue, we're say speaking with somebody, we also false it. Or if we have the inventory open, just mind my English, it's fine. We do this. Or something else, we do this X. So what this makes sure of that if none of these are happening, this remains true and we can walk. That's it. That's a simple. So can equals true. So what we can do is go if find interaction system dot I'm not gonna call this, honestly. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna create something much more elaborate so we can all of us understand. I'm gonna create a boolean here called is examining. So by default it's false. And then whenever we click the examine button, just because enable the boolean is examining equals true. So that's amazing, right? This will help us with closing a window again. So if is examining, oh by the way, it's not is6. One thing about this is I made this private, but I actually need to access it. So let's make it public. Instead of doing the get and set, this one is fine. Is examining. So if it's examining, can equals false. And of course, as we decided, we return the can. So we can have multiple of situations in here, like a lot of stuff. But right now, because we have only one, we're gonna go ahead with this. So what happens in here? We check. Actually, you know what? Let's make this. I think it's just more beginner friendly. If we cannot move, don't go down. Just close everything. But if we can move, do whatever we can do in the bottom. And the first condition we have is if the examine window is open, we can't move. And we can check this out like right now. Wait, we have an error. Oh no, it's fixed. Okay. So we can check the whole thing by examining the green leafy bush. So right now I can move left and right, I can even jump. And you can see from here, is examining is on. So now we have to deal with closing the whole thing. It's quite easy. It's as simple as opening it. So what we're going to do in here, we're going to say if is examining. So this is where we're dealing with the opening it. What we can do before we actually open it, we check if it's open or if it's closed. And by checking the is examining, so that means if we're examining it, close it. If we're not examining it, examine it, open it. So we'll do the same thing. In this one in here, we don't have to sign anything. To close it, all we have to do is we have to disable it. Like disable, like hide the exam window and disable the boolean. So this should work. I remember I'd done something similar before and there was a small glitch about this, but let's see if that works, if that happens or not. So we can see from here it's examining false. If we start, click E, everything's fine. Click E again. Yeah. So that's the glitch that I was talking about. We're calling the same. We're clicking the same button in the same time, which causes this thing to call back again from here. Okay. So let's try one thing. The easiest way of this is putting another flag. Maybe if we change the button, it can work. But I'm gonna try this on the spot. So what we're gonna do is, let's go this step by step. If by default it's not examining, so what happens is when we click this button, we come here, and then we're calling this place because right now we're not examining. So everything happens here, and this is enabled. So let's do one thing here before we start. Examine, close. Okay. Let's see how it's gonna work. At least we can see when are we calling the methods. And if not mistaken, we're gonna call the examine right away. Yeah. So right now we called the examine, right? So the next step is, because this is true, it's gonna come in here. Oh, I think that's the reason why. Okay. I am the one who made the mistake in here, not the game. Whenever you copy and paste, be careful so you don't fall in the trap just like me. So I guess this thing is gonna work just fine. So we examine, we can't jump, nothing. So if I click E again, it exits. Click E again, that's it. That does everything. And let's apply this in here. And you should notice that if this is as a pickup, this thing is not going to be used. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have a new an episode about custom editor, and probably after we finish this section. And the custom editor, we're going to be able to have our own inspector fields in here. Like for example, if I click none, nothing becomes available. If I click pickup, only the pickup fields come up. If I click examine, this comes up, the examine report. But right now, we're fine. So let's keep this as a pickup, this as examine. And for the last try, we go here, and let's do this thing where we change the image of it. Let's make it a box. Of course, the box guider has to be changed manually. So if you go here, click the box. I don't know if this is a box or something. So we have ourselves a really cool examine system. I hope you enjoyed this and learned a new thing. If you did, please smash the like and subscribe button. If you got more questions or any feedback, please hit the comment below. And thank you for your time, and I guess see you over the next one. Bye bye.